Support for this podcast comes from pulseM. pulseM is the #1 review generation platform built for home services. The majority of CertainPath members use pulseM for Google reviews, customer communication through text messaging, and much more. To quote Bubba Thurman of Baker Brothers, "I can't say enough good things about pulseM. They match our core values and they do an unbelievable job." For more information, please visit pulseM.me. And Customer Lobby. Customer Lobby is a new member of the CertainPath Partner Network. Did you know it costs 5 times more to get a new customer than it does to retain an existing one? Customer Lobby gets you more repeat business by automatically sending postcards and emails to your customers at exactly the right time. Customer Lobby is the best way for CertainPath contractors to increase revenue and make sure their customers are coming back again and again. To quote Jeff Katz from Clinton Electric, "Customer Lobby expanded our business to people that we never would have gotten revenue from." For more information, please visit customerlobby.com.
Welcome to The Successful Contractor, powered by CertainPath, formerly Success Group International, a show for residential contractors about residential contractors. We chronicle business journeys, share insights, and celebrate successes in this wonderful industry. I'm your host, Bob Houchin. As a reminder, all episodes of The Successful Contractor are available on YouTube, as well as your podcast player of choice. And for more information on how CertainPath can put your contracting company on a certain path to success, visit our new website, www.mycertainpath.com, or give us a call at 866-299-8505. I'm excited to bring to you an interview with Rachel Cummings and Rustin Mayse of KMP Plumbing, Heating, and Air in Mansfield, Texas. Rachel and Rustin are siblings running a family business their parents, Kim and Robbie, began in 1985. And business has been booming for this brother-sister combo. When they joined CertainPath in 2018, 2019, they were primarily a new construction company doing a little bit of residential service and replacement. And they were doing $14.5 million in sales, so obviously a successful business. But today they're on target to do $20 million, and a third of that is residential service and replacement, and they're doing it very profitably. They're very happy with their change. So for any contractors looking to diversify into service, this will be a great interview. For those of you who've been doing service for years, Rachel and Rustin offer some great insights that can benefit you as well. We talk about culture specifically, but lots of other great things too. So without further ado, here's Rachel Cummings and Rustin Mayse, KMP Plumbing, Heating, and Air in Mansfield, Texas. Hope you enjoy our conversation and take away a nugget or two. Rachel and Rustin, thank you so much for taking some time with me today. I really appreciate it. For those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, kind of share with everyone your name, your company name, and where you guys are located.
Sure. Thanks for having us today. My name is Rustin Mayse. We are with KMP Plumbing, Heating, and Air out of Mansfield, Texas.
My name is Rachel Cummings, and we are brother and sister.
Very good. Brother and sister working together. I don't know if you hear that a whole lot. How much are your mom and dad still involved? Are they kind of retired? Or do they still like to partake in the business?
No, they're retired. Have been for. I mean, it's one of them deals. My dad likes to work, so he really slowly retired over a long period of time. But long would you say he's been away? Probably 7 years at least.
Well, it's going to take 6 to 7.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
There wasn't like a day he said, "All right, I'm done."
Yeah. It just all of a sudden he just stopped showing up as consistently.
Yep.
That's great. Well, I understand. It's just, it's like a baby, if you work that hard on something, it's hard to let it go. I respect that. We're talking for a great reason. You guys have just been really killing it the last couple years in particular. Kind of share with everyone your chance to brag on yourselves, how you've grown from, you shared off camera with me from 2020 to 2022. And let everyone know where you're going.
Sure. Well, we really established, we joined SGI in 2018 and really wanted to put an emphasis on home service. So our company was founded on home service, but we kind of moved away from that a little bit, got into commercial construction and some other things, and really have just been putting a big emphasis on that, and it's been growing. We've added HVAC last year, and it's just complemented our plumbing service and just growing exponentially.
That's great. That's great. Now, I mean, let's say, I think you told me you guys started 2020 did 14.5 million, and you're hoping to do what, 20 this year?
Yes, sir.
That's fantastic. Now, 2/3 of that is commercial construction, but still, you said basically service was basically brand new when you joined us, right? I mean, you had some of it, but it wasn't a priority at that point.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't a priority. I mean, at the time we were doing less than $1 million a year, probably, maybe a little more than that. But yeah, it just wasn't the emphasis that we had. And since then we've really been trying to build that side of it up and really bring in it to be more of a percentage of our business.
Yeah. Now why the decision to kind of be more diversified? I mean, obviously you probably had a very good, construction business, and I'm assuming that's doing well. You've been in business a long time. Why the emphasis on service and replacement?
I think several factors. We saw the value in it. We saw the profit margins were more than we were used to in commercial construction, but just not only that, the people business, and it seemed to really align with the foundation and principles of our business. And,
that's great.
Just seemed to click.
Yeah. Now, on just real quick on the construction side, commercial construction, do you guys have a sweet spot, something you guys are really good at, or do you just do an assortment of projects?
Really, we do an assortment of projects. We've got, small to large, high rises and things like that.
Okay. Now on the service side, I butchered it already. Mansfield, Kennedale. It's really south of the DFW, right? It's pretty much that southern part. Do you guys service the entire metroplex, or is it mostly the southern part?
We try to stay. So we've got a 60-mile radius. We try to stay, Fort Worth, Dallas, and south.
Yeah.
That's kind of our sweet spot area. Really, Arlington and that corridor, between the two.
Okay. All right. So you run into all sorts of members. I'm guessing this, Milestone and Baker Brothers and Rescue. Do you guys compete against them a lot?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And see, you're still doing well, right? So that's good to hear for people that, you can still have a growing business even with big members and competitors and get along.
You can. Yeah. There's plenty of work for everybody.
Yeah. Dallas, I think you guys are doing okay in terms of population, if anything. So you're gonna be okay. Let's talk about you two. Your mom and dad. Okay, they started the business in 1985. Like you said, went into service originally, and then it grew in other things. But how about you guys? Did you always expect you'd end up in the family business, or did you rebel at some point and come back? How about you guys? What's your story?
Well, Rach started first. I'll let her take that one.
Go ahead, Rachel.
No, I did not think I would be here. So I went to school to be an accountant, and then I worked for a year as an auditor. And my dad had called and said, "Hey, my accountant's leaving. Do you want to come to work with me?" So it was kind of one of those things. I said yes. So I moved up here, and that was in 2008.
That's great. Set the hooks in. I just need your help for a little bit, and then boom, 15 some odd years later, or 20 years later, whatever it's been now, you're still there. But that's good. That's great. Rustin, how about you? I mean, I'm sure you probably got pulled along in trucks and such over the years, and were exposed to the trades for a long time. Was this just an expectation you'd come into the business too?
Not really. So I was an indecisive kid. Well, I'm still indecisive at times, and graduated. I went to college and really just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I had some interest in some things I thought I was decent at, mathematics and things like that. I like numbers. And then I went to Sam Houston State in Huntsville, and they had a good construction program. And so at the time, we were really probably 90-95% construction at that time.
Yeah.
And so went to school for that. My background actually is commercial construction. And when I graduated, I thought, what better opportunity than to help work in the family business and grow that side. So that's kind of how that ended up.
Now, what year was that you came back into the fold?
I actually started in December of 2011.
2011. Okay. Now I got to ask, because it's like on that unfortunate thing, COVID, that becomes a landmark in a lot of small business. I was around doing this in 2008, 2009, when the housing market went bananas. You guys were in construction. How did you, Rachel, you probably remember more because you were in it. How did you guys survive the construct? I mean, I'm telling you, I feel like half of our new members came after the bust because they were in construction looking for a new way. So how did you guys survive it back then? Just lean and mean?
I started March of 2008. And it like the fourth quarter of 2008 is when it started. So I was kind of right at the beginning of it. And the only reason I will say we probably survived is our father was very smart with money. And so he didn't spend what he didn't have, and that's, we had quite a bit of savings, and that's somewhat how we made it through. We also, during that time, met TD Industries, and so we started a job with them, and then that's kind of, we were trying to diversify what we were doing, because before then we were just doing a lot of schoolwork. And so we met some really good people during that time, and that's how we survived through that.
Man, that's great. I mean, that's remarkable. So, all right. So you get through the recession. Rustin, you joined the business. How did things? So primarily, I mean, any residential service and replacement? I mean, it sounds like a little bit, but really your focus was growing the commercial side.
It was back then. You know, we still had service. We've always had it. It just wasn't a focus. And so I actually worked in service for probably 6 months when I started. I come kind of green to the trades, really. I'd worked in the summers a little bit, but, you know, for the most part, green to it, and worked with the service side for a while, and then moved out to one of the TE projects, actually, and really enjoyed the commercial construction side. I had a degree in it, you know, but I started in the field as an apprentice, and, you know, kind of learned both sides of it growing up.
Okay, very good, very good. Now let's talk. Obviously, we're talking for a reason. You're part of an organization. You joined, like you said, this was late 2018, 2019. How did you find out about SGI, now CertainPath? Well, how did that come about?
That's actually a really funny, interesting story. So, excuse me, at the time, we had a GM that was actually over Rachel and I. He had been with the business since 2005 or 6. And, you know, so we kind of grew up under him. And we had worked with Roger Wakefield. I'm sure you know who that is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. So we had worked with him at a commercial project. And he had known we had started putting some emphasis on service, and he had joined SGI a little bit before that, and was like, hey, you guys have to come be a part of this. Like, it's great, the networking and just what they teach you. And that's how it happened. We went to a profit day, and here we are.
That's funny. Yeah. Social media star Roger Wakefield now. So that's great. So where was the profit day at? Was it at like Baker Brothers or Milestone, or was it at like a hotel?
It wasn't. It was at a hotel, wasn't it, in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Oh, in Corpus. Okay.
Yeah. So David, our old GM that is no longer with us, but he loved deep sea fishing. He actually owned a boat down there. And he was like, hey, this is perfect. We'll go to this day. We'll entertain this SGI thing, whatever that is, and we'll go fishing.
Boom! All of a sudden, you're like, "Oh man, what did we do?" Now we got some work to do.
So Patrick led it for you guys, and I can still remember all the things he said in that profit day, and it all just resonated with us.
We were very skeptical at first.
We were.
Sure.
You know, we just thought, oh, it's going to be somebody else that, you know, wants your money. And then when we did the profit day, we were completely, you know, turned around and we're going, this is something we need to do.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's totally understandable. All right. I want to get into like the nuts and bolts of your organization today, because I thank you for sending me your org chart. I think it's absolutely fascinating going through operations and determining, you know, who's running what and how that came about. But before I do that, because you guys are so unique in that, you know, you brought on the service and replacement, almost kind of brand newish, you know, I want to explore how you grew that segment of the business. So, all right, so you join Profit Day, you go to EP probably shortly thereafter, right? So did you both go, or just one of you go, or how did that go, first of all?
Yeah, we both went.
Mm-hmm. You both went. Okay, what was that experience like?
You know, it was a lot to take in. You know, like she said, our dad had been very successful in business, just a different aspect of it. And so, you know, a lot of the accounting and the business side of it, we felt like we knew. Yeah. Now, there was a lot we needed to, you know, shore up on, and just for our own personal growth, we needed to learn and you know, things like that. But just from the whole aspect of every part of the business and how every part complements each other, and how every part is key, you know, I think it really helps to bring it all into focus.
Right. So when you guys, when you left EP, you go, oh man, we got a lot to do, but we always kind of try and challenge people to think of maybe 2 or 4 things to really focus on? What were your, 2 or 4 things you're like, okay, as soon as we get back, we got to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
There's so many things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we actually had a service fee at the time,
Okay.
but we raised it if the customer, accepted. So that was, to me, one of our biggest obstacles was getting the technicians to keep the service fee, and we raised it, and we raised pricing. So I would say that was probably our biggest thing that we went right back to kind of do, was raise pricing, do the price book, and then the service fee.
Okay. Okay. Now, were you guys doing residential replacement HVAC also at that time, or was it just plumbing?
Just plumbing.
It was just plumbing. That's what I thought. When did the residential replacement HVAC start?
Last June.
That was last June. Okay, so that's a whole new baby of itself. All right, well, we'll get into that in a minute. So you went through those gamut of changes. Did you adopt straightforward pricing, or did you kind of use your own flat rate type system?
We had already had a type of flat rate pricing. And I can remember when they were explaining, the levels to me, I was going, there's no way you can have 600, service jobs in 10 levels.
Yeah.
So that was very somewhat mind blowing.
Sure.
Because, we had a flat rate pricing book that we used, but when we went to the levels and understanding that, I was kind of, wow, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think every member says that, but that's literally step one is look at your pricing. Look at the straightforward pricing guide if you're not already doing some form of that. And that's what we did first. And, we started out at the time, I guess, on the 275 book. And at the time we thought that was crazy, but, that's where we started. And I think that's key.
Yeah.
225, I'm sorry. At the time, this was early 2019, so I don't think we had raised our prices in
6 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say that.
No, that's okay. That's pretty common, actually.
We actually have not raised them since 2013, I believe. And anyway.
No, that's interesting, but it's pretty common. So I wouldn't be embarrassed by that. So how many service plumbers did you have at that time? Were they segmented, or did they, they did construction sometimes, they did service sometimes, or
they were still 100% service.
Okay.
3-ish, 4.
5-ish,
yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rachel, please.
Oh, no, okay. I was going to say, we've kind of went up and down some with our service tech, and a lot of that has to do with the leadership training, putting the right people in the right places type of training that we've went through CertainPath. Yeah. That helped us a lot in figuring out who was in the right spot on the bus. So.
Right. So who was managing those technicians at first? Rustin, were you, or did you have another manager? This is a new division. Who was keeping on them and helping them be successful?
We actually had a service manager, and we brought him on 2013 or 2014. And so he had been a part of the service business for, several years leading up to that.
Okay.
But it just really wasn't doing what we needed it to, what we wanted it to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So did he push back on some of these changes that you made early on?
No, not really. He tried to bring them in and bring in new ideas and really trying to take something that we really weren't doing any of and introduce all of these things to try to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, was there much? I'm assuming it sounds like there was a lot of turnover over the initial couple years with technicians. That's totally natural because they go, wait a minute, I was doing this way, and now you're asking me to do all that. So, but that's just something you had to get over with, right? That's just part of it.
There is, yeah. At one point we had 10 or 12 service technicians. But like Rachel said, it was either the wrong person in the organization, just wasn't a right fit, or wrong seat on the bus, things like that.
Right. So it sounds like it sounds like you probably stabilized your department in terms of techs. You probably have some that have been with you a little bit. What's been the big difference? Who's been doing the hiring, and who's helped you find maybe some quality candidates that are also fit this new service model?
Combination. So we have an HR manager, but right now, at 103 employees, she does all payroll, all compliance, all insurance. So a combination of her and myself.
Okay.
I do a lot of it for the field and things like that. Rachel handles the hiring and stuff for the office.
Okay.
But it's teamwork for sure. Because we don't have a full-time recruiter right now, although I think we're probably on the verge of that.
I think you're ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now it's a team event.
Sure. Now, this is for both of you. Now, when you're interviewing, I mean, you're looking for certain characteristics in people, right? I mean, if you've been doing this a little bit, you've said you've gone through some training, or what are some things that you look, whether it's someone for the field or for the office, you're like, that's the type of person we need to bring into the family business?
Culture, 100%. It's, we've learned that in the last several years of SGI is just, you used to, we did, we interviewed for skill or for experience or for, the position in the trade or whatever. And you can teach those things. You cannot teach culture. You cannot teach, integrity and a lot of these kind of things that align with our core values of faith, family, commitment. And when we started doing that and looking for those right candidates that fit what our core values were, and what our vision for the company was, that just makes a world of difference.
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's core values. Did you have core values initially, or was it just maybe a mission statement the business had for a long time, or how did those come about? I saw a look.
Yeah, for the longest time, we were making a website. This was several years ago. I hadn't been here very long. According to Rachel, like the wordy one, I write all of the important emails that have to be sent. But so I had literally just written some down to put on our website. This was for several years. And then after we joined SGI, we realized how important that was. We actually established all new ones.
That's great.
Just a few years ago, yeah. And they were completely different than the ones we had. So once that was established, then we could start. Everything was, built around that. We could start hiring off that. We could start firing, unfortunately, off that, or reassigning them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just the truth. So how did you? This is good. This is a good line of questioning, because I think this is really important for people, because you had an established business that was successful and you went, hey, let's hold up and reassign or rethink about what matters to us, what our core values are. So was it just a process of the two of you sitting down in a conference room and brainstorming, or you've got management now, a management team? Did you guys all sit and talk about it, or what was that process like for you guys?
Yes, we've actually, so our operations manager on the commercial side, he's been with us 16 years now, going on 17,
great.
I believe. And the three of us sat down and just talked through, what was important to us. We actually went through the Simon Sinek book, Find Your Why.
Yeah.
And so we went through that, read a couple other things. And yeah, we come up, so we have core values, faith, family, commitment, and then we have our why statement. I think a lot of different people call it different things, whether it's vision or whatever. And then we established as a group our why statement, like, why does our business exist?
Yeah.
And, ours is to build, develop, and inspire our team so they can live a better quality life.
That's great.
And, that's, as a team, that's what we felt like, why we existed and what we were here for. So.
That's neat. Now, how did you roll? Did you have like a meeting, a company meeting, to roll this out to the team, or did all of a sudden it just kind of slowly integrate into the business with some signage and you started talking about it, or what did you guys do?
Multiple things. So at the time we were doing all of that, we were redecorating the office. So we did several different wall wraps. And so we put that statement in every one we did. We started doing, we call them lunch and learns, where we get the whole company in the office on like a Friday, and we'll do training or, kind of where we're headed. But at the beginning of each one, Rustin is the talker. So Rustin actually goes through our why statement every single quarter for new employees, or just, making sure everybody knows that's important to us. So I think we did a combination of a couple different things to kind of roll it out.
That's great. That's fantastic. All right. So, all right, let's talk a little more business type, hard business. When you joined, plumbing service was kind of newish. I mean, really focusing on it at least, right? And then you said, what was it, a year or two ago, you kind of rolled out, let's do residential service and replacement on the HVAC side. Now, why the decision other than money to do that? It's just a good opportunity, right?
Because we're not very smart. I mean, this is the explanation. so it was just one of those things that being around construction my whole life and the trades that I wanted to do. And, our dad mirrored that same thing. He wanted to a long time ago as well, just never had the opportunity.
Sure.
And, working through the SGI process and just really redefining our whole business, I think Gus had gave a speech at one of the expos maybe and was like, hey, if you ever want to add a different trade, don't do it. Like, why would you do that? And so Rachel was always a conservative one, like, hey, he says we need to be operationally excellent before we do this, and we are definitely not. And so, we fought that back and forth for a few years. And really finally, are we operationally excellent 100%? No, we still don't believe that. I don't think we ever will, but we felt like we were at a place enough where we had the foundation.
Yeah.
That, we had a management meeting like we always do at the beginning of the year, really late the year before, and we established our goals and things we wanted to do. And, in 2021, that was what we wanted to do. So, that's what we did.
That's great. So what were the first steps? Did you hire a manager to run that division and then help you drive that new segment of the business? Or I see a smirk from Rachel. So that sounds like there's a good story.
Well, it's another one of the things. If Gus is listening to this, tell him he was right, because you want to add it so you don't do it. It was a little rocky at first. So we had looked at buying 3 different businesses and worked through the process, all the way down to the financials and talking details and things like that. And all 3 of them fell through.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's not it. Maybe that's not the route we need to go. And so we just literally run an ad like we were hiring, a service technician.
Yeah.
And actually brought somebody on, and we were still early on in learning how to hire that fit our business and to our core values and the way we wanted to do things. And so the first one lasted about 3 months. We rolled HVAC. We told all our customers, plumbing customers, we were going to, do HVAC, and there we're off and we're doing stuff. And then that just, kind of went up in a ball of flames. And so back to the drawing board, we basically went through the same process again. And I felt like the second go around really had a good grip on what we wanted and who we were after. And fortunate enough, was able to hire that person again. And he's been with us over a year now and really taken off with the HVAC department.
Now, I don't have the gentleman's name, but I wrote down, is that your HVAC service manager? Is that's okay, that's the gentleman who runs that. And then he has under him looks like 3 techs and 2 installers, or what's that team look like then?
Yes, sir. 3 techs, 2 installers.
Okay. And all right, very good. All right. And so that they run service and maintenance. And how about club memberships? Was that something that you did on the plumbing side before and maybe expanded that into HVAC, or has that been a newer thing, or what do you say?
Go ahead.
Well, we didn't do memberships before SGI. So we had started plumbing memberships.
Yeah.
We're not the best at them still, but we're working on it. So yes, we had already had the core membership, and then when we did HVAC, we ended up doing the HVAC only and then a combined membership. So we do have that. That's one of our things we're working on.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. It's a little easier on the HVAC side selling it, though.
It is much easier on the HVAC side.
People are more ingrained to kind of know that that's a good thing to have. That's fascinating. So, how about who handles the sales component on HVAC? The technicians sell then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Billy, our service manager, he had a good background in sales. And so, he handles a lot of it up front. And then as we brought on additional technicians, and he's trained them and worked with them on the sales side of it. So we have selling technicians the way we're structured.
That's great. Okay. Well, we'll get into more in the details and how training and stuff like that. And then I want to talk, as I alluded to earlier, I'd like to talk kind of the work chart a little bit and who's reporting to you, just so people get a mindset. I think it helps because so many companies in our space are growing and they don't know who to add when and all that stuff. Now, Rachel, let's start with you. You've got a whole host of folks. You've got someone in AR, you got 2 AP people, 2 CSRs, a dispatcher, an HR manager who we talked about earlier, right? That helps you with hiring. What is an outreach director? I saw that and I was like, oh, that's unusual. I was like, I got to ask about that.
That's our hybrid. She does marketing along with employee retention. So so we have her Rustin actually, I think, came up with the name. So she has 2 facets of her job. Is She does all of our social media posts, ideas, coupon, just different things in marketing. But then she'll go to job sites. She'll take videos and pictures of the guy. She'll take him to lunch. So she's somewhat of an employee retention director, manager, if you want to call her. So she does both. She was actually with us doing HR, and she has just a people personality. She's outgoing. And so after Culture Index, we decided, you know what, we think maybe this might be a better fit for her. And so we talked to her about it, and she was on board, and we've never looked back. So she's pretty much killing it now.
That's great. That's great. You said Culture Index, so I got to follow up with that. How long have you been utilizing Culture Index, and how has it helped the business?
Over a year. Last June, I believe.
Yeah, it is the best thing we've ever done.
Is that right?
And I'm what, like, I want to see their Culture Index, and I'm going to look at that before I ever even look at your resume. And so then it we love it. It's made a huge difference in just our company, putting the right people in the right spot, understanding why maybe they act the way they do.
They do? Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
We are huge fans. We really believe in it. Love Mark. He did our training early on, and going through just the whole SBI process, and after EP, and just all the management leadership stuff you go through, it's great. And Culture Index basically is just the icing on top that really helps you understand people. And we're in the people business. Everybody says that. The better you understand them, the better off you are, and the better we can work together.
Right. Do you feel like the Culture Index has really helped you more understand how to interact with people based on their personalities, or has it helped you slot certain personalities for certain positions as well?
Both. I mean,
okay.
We've had guys that were on our commercial construction side, and we identified them like, hey, that would probably be a good service technician, brought them over, they're killing it. And vice versa. And then like Rachel said, Crystal's a great example. She was in HR. Not that she was doing bad, she was doing good, but you really just felt like this was just her next level, and this is where she could thrive. And that's where, so we moved her, and, that's happened several times.
Yeah. So when someone applies for a job with you guys, so because you mentioned you want to look at that index before a resume, and maybe you're kidding, maybe you're not, but what's the process? So when do they fill that out? I mean, is it just part of like the Indeed when they apply on Indeed, or what? Maybe kind of walk me through what that looks like for you guys.
Sure. Like I say, I do all the hiring for the field and most of the, that side of it. So we do look at the resume, and then immediately we have Indeed set up where it sends out a Culture Index. And, that's basically step 1.5, really, after applying. Fill out the Culture Index, we'll review that, and then we start doing interviews after that.
Yeah. Okay. And you guys I'm assuming, are recruiting all the time, whether you're hiring or not, but I'm sure you're still hiring all the time, but you're still always got to be recruiting. So that's great. You mentioned marketing. So it's a little early for me to talk marketing, but I do want to talk about it because you brought it up. You guys are a big business. You're growing. Who manages marketing for you guys? I mean, do you have, is she your contact, or one of you primarily in charge of that?
I'll let Rachel take that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I luckily got that job title over the last year. We actually have a third party that does a lot of our SEO, website design, stuff like that. And so we work, our marketing or our outreach director, Crystal, she works with him hand in hand all throughout the year. And then I'm also involved. So, I have a monthly meeting with her to kind of get an idea of trends, what she has planned for the upcoming, quarter. So I'm more involved with that side. Obviously, Rustin knows what's going on, but he doesn't want to be involved in the details.
Yeah, that's everyone's got their strong suits, right? But you got to find someone to do it. So it sounds like it's PPC and SEO or your biggest drivers of marketing. Do you do any kind of like what we call traditional advertising, like radio or TV? I mean, you guys are a good size.
We do not right now. So several years ago, we advertised on KLTY, so we did radio.
Yeah.
And we quickly realized that at that time wasn't for us. So we've been throwing it around a little bit now recently, We have
Yeah.
not pulled the trigger on anything yet because what we are doing is working for us and, how much we want to grow and stuff.
Yeah.
But now we will still do the traditional. Recently, she sent out, the direct door mailers. We still will send out, Christmas cards, but a lot of it is all website, internet-based.
Support for this podcast comes from Home Depot Pro Trades. At the Home Depot Pro Trades, our job is helping you do yours. Powered by HD Supply, we are uniquely positioned to help drive your business through unrivaled access to professional-grade plumbing, electrical, and HVAC products, and innovative business solutions such as our Stockwise inventory management program, fully customizable to meet your needs and improve productivity. Our national network of distribution centers and more than 2,200 store locations provide national reach with a local focus, giving unmatched convenience and product availability. We power pros to do more.
So to rewind clock a little bit, when you really, joined us and said, let's really make service a priority on the plumbing side. I mean, here you go, you're doing construction and everything. It's not like it's new construction where you can target those customers. What are some things you did to kind of jumpstart that even more? Was it the same thing, just internet marketing, or have you guys bought anyone over the last couple of years to grab their customer base, or?
We have not. That's something Rustin really wants to do, and we've looked at it a couple of times. I guess the right fit hasn't came along, so we have not done that. But we did a ton of Google marketing, so that's kind of where we started. And we put a lot of money in that, and so as we've grown, we've kind of diversified a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. That's what it is today. When I started, it was yellow page ads, and everyone put all their money in yellow page ads, and now everything's on PPC and SEO, and that's just how the world works at this point. All right, so Rachel, we kind of talked about your direct reports. Rustin, let's go with you. You've got a bunch of commercial direct reports. You have a safety manager. You have a service operations manager, and that's he's got a quite a big group. 10 techs, 3 apprentices. You have a maintenance tech warehouse. We went through the HVAC side, right? How about so on the plumbing side, how many service plumbers do you have now? Is that the 10 techs or who? What does that division look like?
It's actually 9 right now. 9 techs, 4 apprentices is where we're running right now with the service manager.
Okay, very good. Now, most of the technicians that you have, are there any homegrown? Or are you mostly hiring experienced technicians and teaching them your way, or has it been a mix?
Really a mix, yes, sir. We like to homegrow our technicians.
I know you're going with it.
From the apprentice on. And so really right now we're probably a little apprentice heavy, but they are on the track to be technicians, and that's what we would like to do. But overall right now we're about a mix. Yeah.
How long is it? I mean, has it been, typically to get an apprentice up and rolling, to get in a truck on, well, I guess each division is different, right? Because of state licensing in Texas and all that. So what is it? How many hours is it? I can't keep it all straight with being in 50 states. So.
Texas is 4,000. So if they come to us and they don't have any experience at all, 4,000 hours, equivalent to about 2 years. And, through that process, though, we're training them to be a technician. They're working through the processes and the steps to a service call and things like that. Fortunately, some of the ones that we've been able to bring on had some experience. And so we can bring that time frame down a little bit to, a year or less. Yeah.
Now you said you've had some commercial construction guys go, hey, I think maybe you'd be good over here. Do you get some that go that want to make that switch, and sometimes you're like, I don't know if your culture index, and I know how you are, and I don't know if that's a good natural progression for you. I see some nodding. So how do you handle that situation when Joe he sees the service techs making a killing and goes, I might want to do that, but you're like, I don't think that's going to work. So what do you do in those situations?
A mighty good question. We explained to them about, people being in the right seat on the bus, and that, we're all on this bus riding together. And right now with where you're at in your career and things like that, we think that you're in the right seat on the bus where you're at.
Right.
And so, we approach it like that, and that, there's always room for growth and potential. So, we'll talk to them what they need to do in the next steps of their career to get to where they want to be. If service is where that is, then these are the steps you need to take to get there.
Okay, so at least you open the door, and You say, this is what you need to do, and then they don't do it, and then everyone's
Yep.
move along. Right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's a tough question, but that's one I wanted to ask because it
It is.
all right. We've been talking, your org chart, your direct reports. How about in general? How often do you guys talking, your management team talking? Do you guys have huddles? Do you have weekly meetings so everyone knows what's going on? Kind of walk down the communication structure that you guys have.
So Rachel and I both meet with our department managers once a week.
Once a week, okay.
We go over the numbers, go over the KPIs, depending on where we are in the month, we go over month financials, go over basically everything within the department. How's our team doing? Where can we, shore up some training and things like that? And each department we meet once a week.
Okay. Do you guys do any quarterly planning? I mean, you got a big company now. You're setting big goals every year. That just doesn't happen. So you've got to make some time for that. So what's strategic planning look like for you guys at this stage?
So every year we try to do better than the previous year.
Sure,
So
yeah. And you have been.
We've been trying. So I was actually just saying, hey, we need to schedule our budget, meeting. So I actually just did that today. But at the end of the year, we kind of will sit down and have a good financial meeting or planning for the next year. And then kind of at the beginning of the next year, we'll somewhat do the same, see what changes or any more ideas. But I would say we meet probably quarterly. With management and just, go over financials, go over jobs, problems, issues, good things we're doing, things like that. So.
Yeah, that one's probably not as structured and scheduled, but it ends up to being about quarterly, and we just go over where we are against our goals. So this year is the first full year we've been using the SGI budget template.
Okay, great.
Full year. And so it was hard for us because we wanted all of our departments on that sheet. And so we really had to work with you guys and build one basically that fit all of our different departments, because we're a little abnormal. And, but we did, we got it all on there, and, now we can track our progress to our goals and how we're doing financially and things like that.
That's fantastic. Because you have so many divisions and you're growing so quickly, you need a lot of manpower. I mean, I was kiddingly talking about it, but it's true. You're recruiting all the time, but do you set certain goals? Like we need to add 3 techs here. We need another CCR here. I mean, how do you approach the manpower planning? Is it just as once you feel a pain point, like we need to get another person, or do you have an idea quarter by quarter what your staffing needs are going to be?
Yeah, we do. We have an idea quarter by quarter, and it starts with that strategic planning meeting at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And so, we'll have a plan. This quarter, we need to add 1 technician, or, in the next 2 quarters, we need to add 2. And the department managers are slowly actually being a part of the recruiting process and helping us out with that. And
That's
so,
great.
We include them in what those projections look like. We start at the beginning of the year with our sales goals, and we back into our average ticket, what that would look like, and how many calls we'd run, and what that would look like, and that'll tell us how many technicians we need to end up with.
Yeah.
And then, where are we at versus where we need to be, and we build that plan according to that.
That's great. Now, you're the gentlemen who are running the service side of things, service replacement. Do they have? I'm assuming trade backgrounds, or are they more customer service backgrounds, or what are their backgrounds like?
One is and one is not. So our plumbing
interesting.
It is our plumbing manager we brought on this year, and we had some things within the department that we really felt like we needed to put attention to.
Yeah.
And so when we were looking for that manager, we basically said, look, we're going to need to live outside the trade in looking for this. We're not saying we're not going to hire within the trade if we do find that person. Let's look outside. And he really filled the shoes that we really felt like was going to be key to growing the culture and growing some of the pain points we had in that department.
Yeah.
And so, he is, and that's the plumbing side. The HVAC service manager, he does have a trade background. Actually run his own deal for a little while, and brought him on.
Yeah. So I got to ask. So the gentleman who did not have the plumbing background, what was his background, and why did you think he would fill that need so well?
You want to take that?
That's the buck.
Here you go.
We were looking for we were going through some pain points in the service department, and we were looking for a specific, we want him to be a motivator. We want him to be, you know, teammate mentality, and just, we were looking for a lot of things in this person. And so Rustin, I think, interviewed him first, and immediately he said, man, you're going to want to interview him. You know, so we brought him back in for a second interview pretty quickly. And we just, I don't know, we just kind of knew. After talking to him, he just fit the culture. He fit all of our, you know, faith and family beliefs. And it was just easy almost. And so we knew, though, going into it, it was going to be a battle with the technicians, with him.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
So we were pretty slow paced on, you know, kind of getting him in. We explained to them why we did what we did, you know, what we were after, what we thought they needed. And then we were both very much involved for the first probably 4 months of him coming in, taking over the manager role. So.
Okay. Now, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, just to, you know, kind of spin off that, he had a military background, and so
I was going to ask,
the camaraderie and the team aspect and all that, he really understood, and he understood the importance of it. And so, you know, when we set out to look for this person, that's what we were looking for, and that's really where that fit, I think. And exactly what, you know, what Rachel said, we really were forthcoming in the information, like, hey, this guy doesn't know anything about the trade. We're just going to tell you right now. That's how it is. And so, but the roles, and we told them these are his roles and responsibilities, what we want him to do as manager, and this is why we think he'll fit those. Yeah. And you're going to teach him along the way, the plumbing side and the trade side. And, you know, I think we were open and honest about it. And not to say it was perfect and smooth, but I think it overall ended up going pretty well.
This might be a tough question, but, you know, because you're not him, right? But you're observing what's going on. How did he earn the respect of the team? You know, it's a hard question, but maybe think of it, was there certain actions that he did, or he tried not to act like he was a hot shot? I mean, what did he do to earn those guys' respect?
Well, like I said, he used his military background in what he was doing. And so, you know, he did ride-alongs for 2 months, every bit of it. And he rode with each technician for a full week. If they worked late, he worked late. If, you know, they did an after-hours call, he did an after-hours call. And, you know, he earned their respect that way. He basically said, look, I'm your apprentice here. I'm just here to help you. And he worked with them in the field for as long as he could. You know, and we set out a schedule and a plan for him, and he fulfilled that, and really that's how he earned it.
That's outstanding. Now let's talk about what he's bringing to the team. Like what certain things about him? What is it just the leadership? Is it just the coaching? What are some things that, you know, again, how does he help your technicians become better? Because there's going to be people that watch this or listen to this that maybe you're outside our group that are going to go, what in the world are they doing? You know, but there is value, right? No, it's not. There's a lot of good companies do it. So you guys aren't the only ones, but just for those people that want to know why and how he helps, if you can walk us through that, that'd be great.
Sure. You know, I think he's a trailblazer. So, and people that are in Culture Index, you know what that is. And so he's naturally wired to be in that position in a service, because it's a fast-paced environment. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts.
Sure.
And I think trailblazers, and that wasn't why we picked him out originally first, but it just, you know, it seemed to really fit. But he naturally fits that environment. He's fast-paced, but he's also personable. So he's got the social aspect, he's got the fast-paced aspect, you know, and he's always thinking, he's always moving, he's always doing something. And so, you know, when you complement that with the teamwork aspects that he has and the military background and the camaraderie that he wants to build in a team, you know, it's just a perfect storm, it seemed like.
That's great. That's fantastic. Who on the technical side though, like who is reviewing? Is he reviewing tickets? And because he couldn't do that at first, right? You're not being able to look at a service job and go, why did you not offer this option or whatever? Who handles that function or helped him with that, at least early on?
It's been a combination. He caught on pretty quick, and he understands pricing and things like that, so he caught on that very well. Now, the technical side, he would ask fellow technicians, technicians on his team, and then myself, he would call a lot. And we've got our operations manager on the commercial side I've mentioned before. He's been involved in the service side some, and so he's a very good technical resource. So we basically just identified a few people within the organization and said, hey, if you have technical questions, you call these people here, and if that one don't answer, move to the next one.
Yeah, very good. That's great. Now, your managers, again, I'm thinking mostly service side, because that's what we are as an organization. What key KPIs is it just gross margin you really want them to focus on? Sales? What are the key numbers you go, we need you to drive this?
That's more my area with my accounting, I guess, background. That we teach them top revenue, labor percentage, material percentage, gross profit. All of the items that they can control. So every month we'll sit down and we'll go over those items along with overhead and those things as well, because the more they know and they understand, the better they're going to do their job. But really, as far as KPIs, we're looking at average ticket, closing rate, CSR booking rate, along with, the labor percentage, gross profit percentage, and material, really. In service, those are your main ones. And if you're looking at all of those daily, the top line is going to, take care of itself almost.
Yep.
And so that's, those are the items he really pays attention to look at.
That's great. Now, I don't want you to share anything that, sensitive, but in terms of how the managers are compensated, are they compensated off of some of those numbers as a bonus?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he has the base, and then he has monthly, based on the gross profit percentage, he'll get it.
Yeah,
That's
so ours is scaling. Gross profit, let's just, for instance, 50 to 53%, he gets a percentage of sales, 54 to 56, a higher percentage, and on.
That's great. That's fantastic. That's great. Let's see, where do I want to take this next? So, I know what I was going to ask. So, this has been a lot you guys have covered over the last couple of years, and you're talking about watching, labor percentages when you've got people coming and going, and you're trying to find the right kind of people, and you've got materials prices that have been crazy this year. So, has there been any of those have been really overly challenging over the last couple of years, or have you guys gotten it pretty under control and your numbers are getting to where you need to be?
Were you going to say something? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so I have been more in service background since I started. And so it's kind of not my baby more than others, but, I've really focused on that and I enjoy that side. And so I was going to say probably our labor percentage, and that was one we struggled with when we first, it was SGI or service, CertainPath wants you to be at 30%.
That's right.
We were like, oh, well, direct labor is 30%. And then when we realized that was direct and indirect, we were going, wow, we're really high.
Yeah.
So when we really kind of focused on that, we had to raise prices. And I was always not against it, but, it was harder for me because I was taking customer phone calls, back when I first started. So I kind of understood it. And so when finally Rustin is like, we just have to do it. So when we did that, then it was like all the percentages, started kind of just aligning and coming into place. And we obviously were making a lot of changes all around. But that to me was probably our biggest one, was the labor percentage and getting that accurate.
Yeah, we were at 34% direct labor at the time, and we're like, there's no way that a company can operate at 20. There's no way. And it's not like we were paying our technicians, $150,000 a year. It wasn't that either. It was, just the way our business was set up and structured. There needed to be a lot of changes to get that to where it needs to be, but it is possible.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Rachel. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, for anybody, maybe new or starting off, when you learn and understand the value that you're giving to your customers, raising your prices and stuff makes sense. We want to train our technicians. We want to send them to CertainPath, trainings. And when you do all of that, yes, it costs money, but we are giving you a value that you can't get other places. And so I think, as owners or managers, when you realize that aspect of it, it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Yeah, for sure. So I want to talk about training in just a second. I could, but to kind of wrap it up on pricing, how frequently are you guys raising prices, looking at pricing and saying we need to adjust it? I mean, again, materials are going up, there's labor issues, so you got to pay guys more. So how frequently does that happen?
Before this year, just once a year, we would make a 7% increase, give or take some. This year, just due to inflation, what's going on, we're going to raise them at least twice, if not probably 3 times.
Right.
And what we figured out is smaller increments of price increases is a lot better for the company and the customer. The customer doesn't have to see that. For your reliable customers or loyal customers that you service all the time, they know what stuff costs.
Yeah.
And so, when you make these gradual increases, it's better for the business and better for them.
That's great. That's fantastic. On the training side, like you said, it's an investment, but if you're going to raise your prices, you got to be able to have people that can communicate why the price is what it is and the value they're getting, the warranties, guarantees, all that good stuff. So it sounds, you send your techs to the training. Obviously it's nice that we're in your market, kind of. It's a little bit of a drive, but it's not an airplane ride. Talk about, what's your training look like today?
So we use the CertainPath onboarding process, and we've molded it a little bit to
Sure.
our business.
Sure.
And so there's a pretty good amount of training just in that. And then once they complete that, they go out in the field for an X amount of time. Then we take them through service essentials, usually at SGI's office, depending on the class schedule. And then once they're done with that, typically we get them ready to get in the truck. And then sometime in their first year, we'll take them through the plumber's advanced course, and this is on the plumbing side.
That's great.
So those are all the trainings that we hit that are mandatory, and then then they're a part of our weekly training. So both of our service teams huddle every day, but then every Wednesday we have a training that we set a training schedule for usually no more than 6 weeks, because if something is like a hot topic, we like to be able to hit that.
Yeah.
And so we try not to go too far. I know you guys, Missy always wants us to do like a 26-week schedule, and I'm like, I'm too indecisive for that. I may want to change it. So, but we try to schedule 6 weeks out on our trainings. And so, as they're getting formal training, they're also getting training here every Wednesday.
That's wonderful. Big part of performance is, there's the training and then there's accountability. It's the not fun part, but it's a part that is obviously hugely important. So does each truck have an expectation of a certain amount of revenue produced, or do you like a baseline and then other higher performing techs have a higher goals, or again, do you have just kind of an over average goal that every truck needs to do this much and that's what everyone knows?
We don't know, because I believe each technician is different, has a different background and different expertise and do different work. So we basically take each technician and we mold his goals and things on what he's done recently. Obviously if they're brand new, then we're going to kind of fill that out a little bit, but we meet with them one-on-one, go over their numbers and what areas they need improvement on. And so, do we have just one baseline? Like everybody has to hit that number.
Okay. So you meet one-on-one and talk with them about each individual. Now it's not you, it's the managers that are meeting with them, right? Or is it you?
Yes.
It's a manager. How frequent do they have any other one-on-ones throughout the year to kind of just see what's going on? Or is it just pretty much the training? And I'm assuming, does everyone come in every morning with huddles, or what do you guys do in terms of face-to-face interaction?
Yeah. So like I said before, our huddle is every day, 7:30, 15 minutes. Go over some quick things and how we did the day before, go over the numbers, and our training's on Wednesday. The one-on-ones typically happen once a quarter, and so they'll go over their numbers. So, the manager will give them feedback, tell them where they're doing great, tell them, where areas of improvement.
Yeah. Do you feel like those have helped with retention and maybe understanding what's going on with some guys that otherwise maybe they would have flamed out because you didn't know what was going on?
Oh, tremendously. It's all about connection. We are in the people business, whether it's customer, employee, coworker, however you want to look at it. And so I tell all of our managers, if you can establish connection with each one of those, and it doesn't have to be a best friend personal connection after work or anything like that. But
no, sure.
The more face-to-face time you have in a one-on-one setting, the more connection you're going to have. And so if you can do that on a consistent, regular basis, then it's harder for that person to kind of pull away from the organization or leave for, let's say down the road they're offering $1 more an hour, whatever the case may be. it's going to insulate you a little bit from that.
Yeah, that's great. Rachel, how about you on the office side? I mean, you've got a big team. How often are you guys meeting? I know sometimes, it's a little different. They're not front facing and seeing the clients, they're crunching spreadsheets and everything. So they don't always get to see the fun part of when someone thanks you for making this big repair in the house and you made my day. So it's not as fun on that side, but how do you keep that personal connection with that side?
That it is very difficult because each department is so different. So we meet once a week, the entire office team, and we actually are starting a Bible study. So
okay.
I do different things in those. So we might go through a Bible study with all the girls. I've done to where they come up with ideas or thoughts on making it better. So we kind of do not specific department related items. We do kind of more generic. So I do that. I also do one-on-ones with each one of them. I'm not as good. I do them usually like twice a year. If I can get 3, I might do 3, but I try to make it a point every day to walk around 5-10 minutes. I'm going to talk to one of them, kind of see how they're doing, talk stuff outside of work. And then we also we might do a happy hour to where we all meet and, get a drink. So we do different things outside of work as well, where I try to build those relationships.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, and being in the office, you're in front of each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's different with the technicians. They're in the field 95% of their day. So, and I'm sure there's lots of conversation. When someone's having a rough week because something's going on. So then you can have that side conversation.
I will say this. When you're going through the good grief, what am I trying to say? When you go through EP and you're starting establishing all the things that you need to do in your business and raise prices and all that, that's all first. The value that that we've been talking about, it starts with the office and the call centers. That's the first point of contact that they have. And so I don't think they get enough recognition. I'm going to bring that up. And, they kind of, we talk about technicians and sales and all these kind of things. They have a lot of KPIs. The office doesn't necessarily have a ton of them. Have call booking rates and things like that. But, I think in a sense, sometimes they get overlooked, and that is the most vital part of adding that value to your business is that person that answers the phone the first time they talk to somebody that's with your business.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Do you guys, are you listening to phone calls, or how do you keep an eye on performance on those ladies answering the calls, or do they sell out of clubs? I mean, is that part of their role as well?
We use Service Titan, so every call is recorded, and so so we'll listen to calls. We'll kind of train off the call what maybe we could have done better that time. Memberships, we're working on this.
You mentioned that earlier.
We're working on that. Our ladies are amazing. When it was kind of funny when we went to the Culture Index and they all did theirs. All of them were spot on with, kind of what you want to see us R&D. So I was going, wow, at least we did one thing right, was, our call takers' personality. So
you just did the one thing right, though. Nothing else, just the one thing.
They're great with people. I mean, we have certain customers who call and they want to talk to them only, so they build those relationships. The membership, they will put them in when they're doing their script and stuff, but I wouldn't say that we're great on selling them over the phone.
That's all right. I'm sure they do a good job of collecting information, though, and helping the technicians, your dispatchers. They make those little notes of, it's so-and-so's anniversary, and kind of bring up that kind of stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
There's certainly an art to it. And you guys are absolutely right. I'm guilty of it more than anybody, of not talking enough about the office, but without them, none of this stuff happens. It's the front part of the company. So I'm glad you brought that up. All right, we are over an hour. I really appreciate your time, guys. This was a lot of fun. I don't know if it's felt like an hour, maybe it's felt like 7 hours, but God bless you for hanging with me. And wrapping up, you guys are both really young. You've got a really aggressively growing business. Where do you see it in 5 to 10 years? Do you have any big visions of where it's going to go?
I think where our issue is aligning our two visions. Because I'll let her go first.
No, we're polar opposites.
Yeah.
And so somehow we've managed to work really well together. So my strong traits are maybe his weak, and his strong are my weak. And so we do work really well together. But yes, aligning us a lot of the time is sometimes a struggle.
Yeah. So to answer your question, we've got big dreams for really all departments, but I think our HVAC side specifically, we actually just kind of went over his for, I know it's already August, that sounds crazy, but or fixing to be September. He wants to do $3 million next year and $5 million the year after. And so as a business, as a company, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we'd like to hit the 30 million mark. I say that because Rachel's like, I don't want to be that big. That's where we differ a little bit.
Bulging. Yeah.
And so, our normal growth is 15% a year. This year, we thought we could do 20%, and that's why we set that goal pretty high. We're going to struggle to hit that. I think it's going to be close, but we'll see kind of how it all plays out. But 15% a year, and in 3 to 5 years, I'd like to be at the 30 million mark.
That's great. And the profit margin looks right. I mean, that's obviously what really matters with all the growth. So you guys have done a good job with that. That's great. Just kind of in wrapping up, maybe the last thing is what if you talk to a new, Expo's coming up here, you guys have been members about 3 years now. You say you run into a new member in Denver. What are some things you might say to him or her to help them along this journey of redefining their service business and getting everything moving in the right direction? What are maybe some things you wish you would have done that you didn't do?
Yeah, I actually have 2 things, if you don't mind. So
no, go ahead.
I think the first one is comparison. Each person is running their own business. I'm going to say running their own race as a metaphor, and we're all in different places. And I think I was really bad about that up front when you get in and you see all these businesses just thriving and doing all this stuff. And it's like, maybe they started 5 years ago. Maybe they started 20 years ago. We don't know. And, it's all specific to what that one person wants out of life, what they want their business to be. For instance, I want our business to be 30 million in 5 years, and she doesn't. And so, I think, but as we compare our business to others, it's a demotivator, it really is. And it can tend to distract you from what you need to focus on and what you need to do. And I think I was pretty guilty of that up front. My second thing would be know your value, know your worth.
Yes.
You may go to, let's say if you're small and you're still in the field and go and just know your value. Your value is not what the cheapest guy turned into that customer. If you're bidding against a competitor on the job or something like that, charge what you charge, bring the value that you bring, and believe what you do. And if you do that, I really think you'll be successful because, as Simon Sinek says, I'm still part of his, kind of speech, but people don't, they start to believe what you believe in when you really trust it and you know your value and you stick to that.
Yeah.
And I really think customers can buy into that, and that's what they purchase. They're purchasing that belief. They're not purchasing that service or that, that whatever.
Yeah.
Product.
Those are 2 really good nuggets because you're right. There's a lot of, it's a big group. There's a lot of really successful people in it, and it can be really easy to get, oh man, well, I feel like I'm behind, which is not the case. It's just where you started, right? That's really neat. And knowing your value, that's the first thing. I feel like you walk out of EP, you got to know your value to charge what you need to charge, right? Rachel, how about you? Anything that you feel like if you saw someone new at Expo in Dallas, or you ran into them at EP, some things you might pass along?
Don't get frustrated with that. You guys tell us every expo, every deal, you're going to come back with 100 items you want to change or do. But I know you guys say pick the top couple and start with those. So I would say, pick the pricing and then also the value. So to me, the biggest thing was for us to show our technicians the value we brought and really kind of, show it to them where they understand it. At that point, when your technicians are understanding the value, they're much better with the customers on when you do raise those pricing. So those go hand in hand. When you raise the prices, make sure your technicians understand the value and can show the value. To me, those are the 2 largest kind of points that we struggled with. Sure. And I would just say, be patient. Don't try to do everything at once. Start with adding just the service fee, and then maybe, raise your prices. So do it just a little by little to where you're not overwhelmed.
That's great. That's great. And you talk to Missy a fair bit, right? I feel like you lean on the organization. You utilize it like you should be doing, which there's a lot of members that don't. They feel like they want to go it alone. So maybe speak to that value of having an outside source.
Having an outside source, with CertainPath, but not only that, but the over 1,000 members, that are part of it now. And that's just as important. We haven't missed an expo since we signed up. I take that back. We missed the one. We had COVID.
Can't do anything about
that. I didn't want to miss it, but so, things like that, we just get so much out of, and it really reshapes your business moving forward.
Well, yeah, I wasn't fishing for compliments, but I just want people to take advantage of it. There's so many people that, but it always blows me away. There's members that join and then they don't do anything for like 5 years, and then they wonder why they haven't changed or gotten any better. But I'm sorry, Rachel, what were you going to say?
No, that's what, having Missy and then Mickey on the HVAC side, having those people, I mean, we would call, when we were having trouble with the manager, hey, he's doing this, help us. How do we, walk through this, or are we overreacting? Just having that person there to kind of either, they're going to tell you, what they think or what they've seen people do before. It's just very, what's the word I'm looking for? Reassuring, I guess.
Yeah.
To have that person to where you can throw ideas off of, and then they're going to turn around and give you, what they've seen. And like you said, there's 1,000 members. So they've seen a lot of companies go through the same thing. More than likely.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. That's great. Well, hey, you guys have been fantastic. I really appreciate all your time. It's very exciting to see where your business is going. Thank you so much for almost 70 minutes here. Hope you didn't miss any meetings on my behalf, but I really just appreciate it and want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Hope to see you in Denver. Hope you got that booked, and I'll see you there.
We'll definitely be there.
That's Rachel Cummings and Rustin Mayse of KMP Plumbing, Heating, and Air in Mansfield, Texas. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and if so, please like and subscribe us on YouTube. If you're on your favorite podcast player of choice, please leave us a 5-star review. The 2 seconds you take to leave a review will help other success-minded contractors like you find us and hopefully get a little bit better, which elevates our entire industry. And please join me for future episodes. This has been The Successful Contractor, powered by CertainPath.
Support for this podcast comes from Shuby. Shuby makes it easy to take your customer service to the next level. Show your clients you care with their full line of extra large, extra durable products made specifically to protect their home or business. Shuby products were made by service professionals for service professionals. None of those cheap, thin shoe covers that tear on the job. Their booties are made tough. They have surface protection products for every floor type to make sure you don't leave behind scuffs or scrapes. And don't forget their coveralls, made with an extra long torso for ease of motion while keeping your uniform clean all day. Let Shuby prevent the hassle of cleanup by preventing the mess in the first place. Put your best foot forward with Shuby today. Visit their website at www.shuby.com or give them a call today and mention coupon code CPPOD10 to receive 10% off your next order. The Successful Contractor Podcast is part of the CertainPath family. CertainPath builds successful home service businesses and has for 23 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of over 1,000 contractors just like you. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With CertainPath, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com for more information.